My ex-girlfriend sent me a threatening letter after I told the truth about her husband. If I had just kept my mouth shut, maybe I wouldn't be a villain now. Perhaps I would not have received that letter smelling of lavender and lies. I should have left it alone. That's what keeps echoing in my head. If I had just kept my mouth shut, maybe I wouldn't be the villain now. But silence is its own kind of lie. And when you know something, really know it, it scratches at you. Crawls up your spine when you're trying to sleep. Whispers behind your ears when you smile at people like nothing's wrong. So no, I didn't stay quiet. And now, here I am, trying to figure out if I ruined a life or saved someone from a slow-motion car crash. How it all began. I met her during a time in my life when I thought I had a pretty solid grip on things. Let's call her Emma. I was 31. She was 29. We met through mutual friends at one of those adult game night things. Codenames, beers, awkward small talk, and she sat beside me, laughing at all my jokes like she already knew me. You know that feeling? When someone doesn't just hear you but gets you. I wasn't even looking for a relationship back then. Work was chaotic, my sleep sucked, and honestly, my dating life had been one long string of meh. But Emma made everything feel easy. We became official after a few months of long walks, takeout, and those stupid personality quizzes you take at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. We weren't just dating, we fit. Or at least that's what I thought. At the time, Emma was married. Yeah. I know how that sounds. But hold on, I wasn't the side guy. She'd been separated from her husband, Greg, for nearly a year when we met. They were amicably divorcing. Or at least that's what she told me. The way she described it, they had grown apart, like two puzzle pieces forced together until the edges wore down. I never pushed too hard for details. She seemed honest, grounded, and more than anything, she said I made her feel seen. Whatever was left of her marriage, she told me, was paperwork and polite distance. But over time, things stopped lining up. At first, it was small stuff, little gaps in the stories. Like, she'd say she hadn't seen Greg in months, but then slip up and mention something he said, last week. She told me they were barely in contact, but I noticed his name popped up on her phone late at night more than once. Still, I swallowed my doubts. I trusted her. I wanted to trust her. The shift. It was Greg's behavior that finally made me dig deeper. You know when someone's too nice? Like, that fake cordiality where you can feel the disdain bubbling under the smile? That was Greg. I ran into him by accident at a mutual friend's cookout. We shook hands, and he looked at me like he already knew everything. Like I was the fool and he was just waiting for me to figure it out. I remember this specific moment. We were standing near the grill, and he leaned in real casual and said, Emma always did have a thing for rescuing lost puppies. It hit me like a slap in the face. I didn't respond, just stared at the hot dogs burning on the grill, trying to keep my cool. After that night, I started noticing things I hadn't let myself see before, like how Emma never really answered certain questions, or how she'd changed the subject when I brought up her divorce. I began wondering, was I the reason it hadn't gone through yet? So I did something I'm not proud of. I snooped. Not deep, not illegal or anything, just enough. I checked public court records. That almost finalized divorce hadn't even been filed. It gutted me. Everything she'd said, every promise she'd made, it felt like it was built on sand. But the worst part? I still loved her, and I couldn't tell if confronting her would save anything or just burn it all down. Telling her the truth she didn't want to hear. It wasn't some dramatic moment. There was no screaming, no shattered glass. Just the two of us on the couch, a half-watched episode of Succession playing in the background, and me staring at her like a stranger. I know you're not divorced, I said quietly. She froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. What are you talking about? You told me the paperwork was filed. I checked. It hasn't been. You're still married to Greg. There was a pause so long I thought maybe she'd just get up and walk out. But then she laughed. A short, sharp sound that didn't reach her eyes. So what? She said, setting the glass down. You went digging around in my past? Who even gave you the right? That's not the point, Emma, I said, voice cracking a little. You lied. You've been lying. She stood up, pacing. Greg and I are done. We've been done. The paperwork doesn't matter. It's just bureaucracy. That's not what you told me, I said. And it's not just that. I think you're still seeing him. Her eyes flashed. This is my life. My past. You don't get to expose me like some self-righteous investigator. If I didn't tell you everything, it's because I didn't owe you every damn detail. And then she said the words I'll never forget. You're not helping. You're interfering. Just like that. Like I was some nosy neighbor in a soap opera. Like I wasn't the man she'd shared her bed, her secrets, her dreams with. The letter. I left that night. Not because I wanted to, but because staying would have meant saying things I couldn't take back. 3 days later, I got the letter. It wasn't handwritten, it was typed. Neat margins, formal language. Like a goddamn cease and desist from a lawyer. Except it wasn't legal. It was emotional warfare. She accused me of ruining her life, of manipulating her into shame, and undermining the stability of a marriage that was already healing. She claimed that Greg and her had been reconciling privately and that I had forced a crisis by meddling. And then the threats came. If you continue to speak to Greg or anyone else about my personal business, I will have no choice but to take steps to protect myself, reputation-wise and otherwise. She didn't sign it with her name. Just E. But the perfume, Lavender, her favorite, was unmistakable. Fallout. I sat on my floor, back against the kitchen cabinets, letter crumpled in my hand, and wondered, was I wrong? Was it my fault? I thought I was helping her see the truth. I thought I was giving her a way out, or at least holding her accountable. But all I'd done was push her further into the arms of the man she told me she was done with. I told Greg everything. Sent him screenshots. Told him I wasn't trying to win her back, I just thought he deserved the truth too. He didn't reply. But 2 weeks later, I heard from a friend that Greg had filed for divorce again. This time for real? Now what? I still think about Emma. About how easily someone can flip the script, turn love into leverage, intimacy into ammo. She wanted me to be the villain, the saboteur. Maybe to protect her pride. Maybe because facing the truth herself was too painful. But I still wonder, did I do the right thing? Is it always right to tell the truth? Even when it destroys someone's illusion? Even when it makes them hate you? I wanted to believe honesty mattered more than comfort. But after everything, after that letter, I'm not so sure. It had been 4 days since I got the letter from Emma. For days of pacing, deleting drafts of replies, reading it again and again and again until the words blurred into some kind of haunting rhythm. You ruined my marriage. I will take steps to protect myself, meddling, reputation. I couldn't sleep. I barely ate. Not because I missed her, I mean I did, but that wasn't it. It was the doubt. The thing no one tells you about telling the truth is that it's like lighting a match in the dark. It's satisfying for about 3 seconds. Then you see all the mess you couldn't see before, and now you gotta decide, do you try to clean it up, or just turn the light back off and pretend you never saw it? Greg reaches out. I was halfway through a stale sandwich and a beer I didn't want when I got the message. Greg, can we talk? No intro. No explanation. Just those 3 words like a ghost knocking on your bedroom door at 2 a.m. I stared at the message for 20 minutes. My hand hovered over ignore, but I couldn't do it. I owed him something. After all, I was the one who set fire to his life with my little truth bomb. We agreed to meet at a dive bar halfway between our places. I showed up early because of course I did. I needed time to mentally rehearse every possible version of the conversation. What if he blamed me? What if he thanked me? What if he punched me in the face? He walked in wearing the same smug expression he had at that barbecue, but something in his eyes was different. Tired. Fractured. He ordered a whiskey neat and slid into the booth across from me. I guess thanks are in order, he said after a beat. Or maybe not. Depends on the day. I didn't say anything. Just nodded. He looked me dead in the eye. I knew she was lying. I just didn't want to admit it. And that's when he told me everything. Behind closed doors. Turns out their amicable separation was a total farce. They hadn't filed for divorce because Emma kept saying she wasn't sure, stringing Greg along while openly dating other guys. I was just the one who got too close. The one who asked too many questions. She needed me to be the bad guy, he said. To justify whatever the hell she was doing with you. Apparently, she'd painted this picture for him where I was some stalker ex-boyfriend from her past who'd infiltrated her friend group and was trying to ruin her life out of jealousy. She said you were obsessed with her, Greg added, watching me closely. I let out a dry laugh. Jesus Christ. But he wasn't done. The day after you told me, she showed up at my place. Screaming. Accused me of betraying her by talking to you. Said she had proof you were manipulating both of us. Proof. That word stuck with me. There's something about someone lying with confidence that makes it twice as dangerous. Emma didn't just lie, she performed it. Like she actually believed her own script. Greg wasn't angry at me. He was angry at himself. I stayed because I thought she'd change, he said. I thought she just needed time. But that's the thing about people like Emma, they don't want to change. They want you to bend until you break. He drained the rest of his whiskey and got up to leave. Be careful, man. She's not done with you. The drunk visit. She wasn't. It was a Thursday night. I'd just gotten home from work, made some rice and eggs, still trying to save money after everything. I was watching a documentary about cults, ironic in hindsight when I heard a knock. It was her. Hair mess. Eyes bloodshot. Dressed way too nice for a Thursday. And reeking of vodka and expensive perfume. What do you want? I asked, not even pretending to be polite. I want you to fix this, she shouted, pushing past me into the apartment. I didn't stop her. Part of me wanted to hear her say it, to admit it, finally. But instead, she turned around and started sobbing. Collapsing onto the edge of my couch like she belonged there. They're talking, Keith, she said. Everyone. At his work. My sister. My parents. I told you not to say anything and you did. My heart was racing. I told the truth, Emma. That's it. She snapped her head up. The truth? You think you know the truth? You don't know SHID. You just got your feelings hurt and decided to blow up my life. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You lied to me. You lied to him. You lied to everyone. What was I supposed to do? Keep playing house with you while you flip the script on whoever's convenient. She stood up, walking toward me. Too close. I loved you, she whispered. More than you'll ever understand. And you ruined that. I didn't flinch. If that's what love looks like to you, I don't want it. She stormed out. No goodbye. No apology. Just the sound of her heels stabbing into the pavement like bullets. The aftermath. The silence after she left felt heavier than her presence. I half expected the police to knock on my door with some false harassment claim. Or maybe a restraining order. I couldn't put anything past her anymore. A week later, I got another envelope in the mail. It was from Greg. Inside was a photocopy of the official divorce filing, with a post-it note. You were right. Thank you. Reflection. I told the truth and I lost her. I told the truth and maybe Greg found his way out. But here's the catch. I still don't feel like the hero in this story. I feel like the guy who threw a grenade into a collapsing building and then stood there wondering why everyone's covered in dust. They say truth sets you free, but they don't tell you it might leave you alone in the process. So now I'm left with this question. Reddit, was it worth it? Was it worth destroying something, someone, when I knew it would hurt? And if it was, why do I still feel like I'm the one who lost? Let me ask you this first, Reddit. Have you ever opened an envelope and felt your stomach drop before reading a single word? Because I did. The second I saw her handwriting, elegant, sharp, always tilted just a little to the left, I knew it wasn't an apology. This wasn't closure. It was going to be a punch to the gut dressed up in pretty language and expensive stationery. And I was right. The letter. It started like a eulogy. Not for me. For her. I hope you're satisfied. I hope whatever sick need you had to expose me has finally been fulfilled. You have no idea what you've done. You have no idea what you've destroyed. But maybe that was the point. Yeah. No, hi. No, Keith. Just pure venom and calligraphy. Greg filed for divorce. My parents won't answer my calls. My sister said she's disappointed in me, whatever the hell that means. You've poisoned every corner of my life, and for what? You think you're noble? You think you're some truth crusader? You're a sad, pathetic little man who couldn't handle the fact that I moved on. I had to stop reading halfway through and sit down. Not because I was hurt exactly, it was just the density of it. Like she sat there with a glass of wine and all her rage, rewriting her version of the story until it became fact in her mind. You manipulated Greg. You played him like a fiddle. You knew how fragile our relationship was, and instead of leaving us alone, you inserted yourself like a goddamn parasite. Congratulations. You win. That line stuck with me. You win. As if this was a game. As if I'd wanted to beat her, not save her from something that was already rotting from the inside out. But it got worse. The second page, the real reason she wrote the letter. This is not a threat. This is a warning. If I find out you've talked to anyone else about my personal life, my family, my employer, my friends, I will not hesitate to take legal action for harassment, slander, or any other avenue available to me. You may think you've done the right thing, but if even a whiff of the scandal reaches my clients, I swear to God I will bury you in paperwork until you regret ever meeting me. There it was. Not just a threat, leverage. This wasn't about protecting herself. It was about punishing me for not playing my role. For refusing to be the quiet mistake in her story. The mind games don't stop. I didn't respond. I couldn't. What could I say that wouldn't somehow be used against me? Every word I typed and deleted felt like it was already sitting in a courtroom exhibit folder. But then she started playing a different game. A few days later, I got a DM from a fake Instagram account. No profile pic. No posts. Just a message that said, "You think you're better than everyone because you tell the truth. Newsflash, no one wants to hear it. People need their delusions. You broke something you didn't build. You deserve everything that's coming." Blocked. But I knew it was her. That was her voice. Her rhythm. The same cadence she used when she used to tell me stories about toxic exes and backstabbers in her life. I used to believe those stories. Now I wonder how many of those people were just people who did what I did, called her out on her shit. Isolation, rejection, and the cost of truth. And here's where things got really messy, Reddit. Some of our mutual friends started pulling away. One of them, Hannah, even sent me a message saying, "I'm not taking sides, but airing someone's dirty laundry like that is low. You could have handled it privately." Handled it privately? As if I didn't try. As if confronting Emma wasn't private. As if being gaslit and lied to wasn't enough to earn me the right to some truth in return. That's when I realized people don't want the truth. Not really. They want comfortably shaded lies. They want peace even if it's built on a cracked foundation. You tell someone their house is burning and they'll scream at you for breaking a window, not thank you for saving them. Why, I still don't regret it. And yet, I don't regret it. Greg got out. I got out. The only one still stuck is Emma, and maybe that's by her own design. I keep replaying that moment when she stormed out of my apartment, her heels clacking down the hallway like a countdown clock. That was the real ending. Not the letter. Not the threats. Not the social fallout. It was the moment I realized I was no longer afraid of her. Because you can only be manipulated when you're still hoping for love. Once you let go of that, they have nothing left to use. Where I am now. It's been a month since the letter. Greg texted me again, a photo of him at a hiking trail with his dog and a simple caption, "Starting fresh." I didn't respond. I just smiled. I've started therapy. Yeah, I know, cliché. But I needed someone to help me unravel all this mess. Someone to remind me that just because people react badly to your honesty doesn't mean you were wrong to speak. And I've started writing again. Not this kind of writing. Not Reddit. Personal stuff. Healing stuff. Because I don't want this to be the story I tell for the rest of my life. Reflection and questions for you. So here I am again, Reddit, asking, have you ever been punished for telling the truth? Have you ever watched someone fall apart because you refused to lie for them? What does it cost to be the honest one in a world full of actors? And is that cost ever too high? Because sometimes I still feel like I burned down a house to kill a spider. But maybe that spider was already poisoning everyone inside. Somehow I thought the worst was over. I thought after the letter, after the fake Instagram account, after the mutual friends dropped me like I was contagious, she'd finally be done. That whatever burning need Emma had to control the narrative, to twist the facts until she was the wounded heroine in her own tragic play, would finally smolder out. But of course, people like her don't let things die. They bury the truth just long enough to dig it up again and use it like a weapon. The voicemail. It came 2 weeks after the letter. Middle of the night. 2:17 a.m. I was dead asleep when I heard the buzz. Missed call. Voicemail. Emma. My hands actually trembled opening the app. I don't know why. Maybe I was bracing for another threat. Another monologue laced with venom. But this time it was different. Her voice was shaking. Quiet. Almost raw. Hey. I don't even know why I'm calling. You probably won't listen to this. You probably blocked me already. I had to say something. I had to tell someone. And for better or worse, that's still you. I sat up, heart thumping. You were right. About everything. The lies, the manipulation. Greg, the way I handled it. All of it. I thought I was protecting myself. But I was just scared. Scared of being seen for who I really am. Scared that if I told the truth, everyone would leave. And they did. I told myself it was your fault. That you were cruel. That you wanted to destroy me. But the truth is, I think you were the first person who ever really saw me. And I hated you for it. You don't have to forgive me. I just needed you to know. I don't sleep. I don't eat. I walk around pretending like I still exist. But I don't. Not really. She paused, deep breathing like she was fighting tears. If I disappear, it's not your fault. You told the truth. And I wasn't ready to hear it. Click. No goodbye. No follow-up. Just silence. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I played the voicemail a dozen times, trying to understand what she was really saying. Was it a cry for help? A manipulation tactic? One last attempt to claw her way back into my head? Part of me wanted to call her back, just to check if she was okay. But another part, the part that had been lied to, gaslit, threatened, knew better. You don't dive back into the fire just because it looks like it's cooling. I forwarded the voicemail to a therapist friend of mine. She listened, then texted me. She's not okay, but it's not your job to fix her. That's the trap. That hit hard, because I still felt responsible. Isn't that insane? After all the damage, the deception, the threats, I still felt like I owed her something. An answer. A conversation. A hand out of the hole she dug for herself. But I didn't call her back. Instead, I wrote her a letter. One I never sent. The letter I never sent. Emma. I listened to your voicemail. All of it. And for what it's worth, I believe you. I believe you're in pain. But pain doesn't absolve what you did. It doesn't erase the threats, the lies, the way you made me feel like I was crazy for telling the truth. You said I saw you. That's true. I saw the version of you that wanted to change. The one that wanted to be loved without the lies. But then you showed me the version of you that couldn't let go of control. And that version? That version destroyed everything. I can't be your savior. I can't be your emotional landfill. I hope you find peace. I really do. But that peace won't come from dragging others into your chaos. Keith. What haunts me? Here's the part one haven't told anyone, Reddit. I saved the voicemail. Not just saved it, I backed it up in the cloud. Why? Because I don't trust that she won't hurt herself. Or blame me if she does. She never said the word suicide, but it lingered in the silence between her breaths. And even now, weeks later, I check her social media sometimes. Just to see if she's still there. Still posting selfies with fake smiles, passive-aggressive quotes about loyalty and betrayal. She's still there. But I don't think she's okay. The bigger question. So here's where I'm stuck. What do we owe to people who've hurt us? If someone who manipulated you comes back broken, do you reach out? Or is walking away the only way to protect yourself? I keep thinking, maybe I told her the truth too late. Maybe if I'd said something earlier, it wouldn't have ended like this. Maybe I made it worse. But maybe that's just the trauma talking. Maybe the truth always feels like cruelty when people have built their identity on lies. I hadn't been to a funeral in years. And when I got the text saying, hey man, just a heads up, Sarah's service is this Saturday, my first thought was, why are you telling me this? Sarah wasn't a close friend. She was one of those peripheral people in your life, Emma's friend from her yoga group, someone I'd met a handful of times, always smiling, always polite. She and I never talked much, but she knew about Emma and me. Knew enough. So when her name popped up in my inbox, followed by the words passed away unexpectedly, something in me went cold. But I wasn't expecting what came next. The text that changed everything. Another message came through a few minutes later from a number I didn't recognize. She left something for you. What? Who was this? I didn't respond. I just stared at the screen like it was going to explain itself. An hour later, the same number sent a follow-up. Check the guest table at the funeral. Ask for the black envelope. You'll know. That was it. No name. No explanation. Why I went. Look, I had no business being at that funeral. Emma and I hadn't spoken in weeks. I had no connection to Sarah other than through her. The entire idea felt like emotional trespassing. But the words she left something for you burned a hole in my brain. So I put on my one decent suit, drove 40 minutes to a chapel I'd never been to, and tried not to throw up from the anxiety brewing in my chest. When I got there, I scanned the guest table, flowers, tissues, sign-in book. And then I saw it. A slim, matte black envelope with my name scrawled on it in a shaky hand I didn't recognize. I took it, slid it into my coat. Didn't open it. Not yet. I sat near the back, far from the family. Watched slideshow photos of a woman I barely knew flash across the screen. Laughter. Sunlight. Dogs. Hikes. She looked happy. Halfway through the service, someone slid into the seat beside me. I didn't even have to look. I knew it was her. Emma. The encounter. She didn't say a word. She just sat there, arms folded tightly, dressed in black like she was trying to disappear into the pew. I didn't speak either. Not at first. But when the service ended and people started to mill around, I finally turned and whispered, what the hell is going on? Emma didn't look at me. Her eyes were locked on the altar, unmoving. She knew, she said quietly. About everything. About you. About Greg. About what I did. I swallowed hard. Is that what this is? I pulled out the envelope. Some guilt trip? One last mind game. She turned toward me then, eyes glassy but alert. No. It's not from me. It's from her. I blinked. What? She left you that, she said. She told me a week before she died that she wrote you something. She said if I didn't deliver it, she'd haunt me. There was a pause, and for a brief moment she smiled, a flicker of something real behind all the wreckage. She was the only person who ever called me out to my face, Emma added. She said I'd lose you. Said I'd twist it into something ugly. And I did. She stood up before I could ask anything else. Read the letter. That's all. Then she walked out. Just like that. The letter. I waited until I got home. Until the door was locked, the lights were low, and the house was completely still. Then I opened it. It was handwritten, messy, passionate. And devastating. Heath. I know we weren't close. I probably came off like another background extra in the long drama that's been your life the past year. But I watched. And I listened. Emma told me things. And you need to know she was falling apart long before you ever showed up. You didn't ruin her. You just didn't enable her. And that's the difference. I've known Emma since we were 12. She's always been magnetic. Always been a storm. But the thing about storms is people forget how much damage they cause until they're standing in the rubble. I'm not writing this to excuse her. God knows she's hurt you. And Greg. And herself. But I do think she loved you in the way she was capable of. And maybe that's not enough. Maybe it never will be. But I saw the way you looked at her when you thought she wasn't watching. You didn't just love her. You saw through her. That's rare. That's terrifying for people like her. You did the right thing. You told the truth. And yeah, it blew everything up, but some things need to burn so people can stop pretending. Don't let her convince you you're cruel. You were just the first person who refused to look away. Sarah. I read it again the next morning. And the morning after that. I don't know what I expected, a secret confession? A twist? A final reveal that made it all make sense? What I got was something better. Validation. From someone who saw both sides. From someone who knew Emma in ways I never could. Sarah gave me permission to stop punishing myself. She reminded me that love and destruction can come from the same place. But it's not my job to untangle them anymore. What Emma said the last time we spoke. 3 days after the funeral, I got one last message. I read what Sarah wrote. She always understood me more than I deserved. I hope you believe her. Because she's right. I loved you. But not the way you needed. Not the way you deserved. I won't reach out again. I promise. I just wanted to say. I'm sorry. For all of it. For the fear. For the control. For the lies. For making you the villain just so I could stay the victim. Goodbye. And that was it. She kept her word. Reflection. Sarah's letter sits in the top drawer of my nightstand now. I don't read it often anymore. But I keep it. Because when the nights get long and the doubt creeps back in, it reminds me of something I wish I'd learned a long time ago. Telling the truth doesn't make you the bad guy. It just means you're the one who stopped pretending. It's been almost a year. A year since Emma. Since the letter. Since the voicemail that almost broke me. Since Sarah's funeral. Since I stopped asking, was I right, and started asking, what do I want now? This is the last part of the story, Reddit. Not because I've figured everything out. Not because I have some perfect ribbon-wrapped resolution. But because I've finally made peace with the fact that some stories don't end with justice or reconciliation. They just end. And that's enough. The quiet after the storm. For a while, everything felt hollow. You get used to the chaos, you know? The texts at 2 a.m. The emotional whiplash. The feeling of walking on eggshells waiting for the next explosion. And when it stops, you expect relief. But what I felt was silence. Heavy, terrifying silence. I kept thinking maybe I overreacted. Maybe she really did love me. Maybe if I'd just been more patient. And then I'd open Sarah's letter again. Or remember the voicemail. Or reread Emma's threats. And I'd remember, it wasn't my job to fix her. It never was. Would I take her back if she changed? This is the question people love to ask. My friends. My therapist. Random Reddit users who DM'd me after reading the earlier parts. If she came back, genuinely changed, would you take her back? Here's the thing no one talks about. Change isn't just about being sorry. It's about being safe. And she was never safe. Not emotionally. Not mentally. Not in the way someone should be when you're building a life together. Could she change? Maybe. Do I hope she does? Actually, yeah. I do. Not for me. For her. Because she's been carrying poison in her chest for so long she doesn't even know what breathing clean air feels like. But would I ever go back? No. Because love should never feel like surveillance. Like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like holding your breath through the best moments because you're scared of what follows. I want love that feels like exhale. Where I am now. I'm not going to lie and say everything's perfect. I still get waves of anger sometimes. I still miss parts of her. Not the manipulation or the drama, but the almost. The person she almost was. I've started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. I lead with honesty now, not just for others, but for myself. No more pretending I'm okay when I'm not. No more accepting red flags just because they're wrapped in charm. And I've forgiven her. That was the hardest part. Not for her sake, she might never know or care. But because I needed to drop the weight. Carrying her around in my mind like a ghost was killing me slowly. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's saying, you don't get to define me anymore. The final choice. I still have the letter she wrote me. The threatening one. And Sarah's. They sit in the same box in my closet, opposite corners like two sides of the same war. One is a monument to fear. The other to truth. Last month I almost threw Emma's letter out. Almost. But then I stopped. Because that letter reminds me of who I used to be, how desperate I was for love that I mistook control for care. How far I've come since then. How much I had to lose to finally understand my worth. I kept it. Not as a scar, but as a boundary marker. This is how far I let someone take me. Never again. Final reflection. So here's what I want to leave you with, Reddit. Sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who do the deepest damage, not out of malice, but out of fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of losing control. Fear of not being enough. But you can't save someone by setting yourself on fire. And the truth? It's not always kind. It doesn't always feel heroic. Sometimes it just feels lonely. But it's still worth it. Because living in the truth means you never have to doubt yourself again. So if you're sitting there wondering if you should speak up, if you should tell someone the thing they don't want to hear, ask yourself. Is silence killing you slowly? Then maybe it's time. The fallout might be ugly. You might lose people. But you'll find yourself again. And trust me, that's a damn good trade.